Hey everybody, it's your buddy Pee Wee back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the new manhwa, The Scandal Maker Has Returned. This is a new manhwa that came out a few days ago. Um, I guess we'll just get right into it. So the synopsis of this comic is we have our main character who is referred to as the Scandal Maker of Genoa. She has her cousin who is right here, who is referred to as the Golden Rose of Genoa. People think of her as the, you know, righteous, good girl, never does anything wrong. Basically the light of the family, and then we have like our main character as like the dark of the family, or the one who's always causing all these scandals and bearing thorns that taint the family name. And a little bit about our main character's past is, her parents died when she was young. She was taken in by her uncle, who, she thought after her parents died, her uncle basically extended a hand to her, taking her in, and that's where we get the two main characters. Um, Basically, the story starts out with our main character getting into another scandal with Duke Cedric Kailas. He is the main, like at the start of the story. There's a banquet going on, and he's basically the main character of that banquet. His father was killed in the war that was just fought. That he ended up winning the war, and the uh, scandal that's happening is there's an event that goes on with these banquets that a man will leave a jewel on the person, like a female person, and at the in like a certain time and place, they're supposed to meet, and like the man finds the jewel on the person, and then they connect and so forth. Our main character, she has this jewel placed on her, and it's a memento of the Duke's father that was lost during the war. And so basically, our main character doesn't know how it got there. People are, trying to make a big deal saying, oh, she's probably just trying to vie for the attention of this Duke, just trying to create another scandal for attention. Um, and basically, as people are berating her and, trying to say that, she's just this attention whore and that, everything, all these negative things about her, she thinks to herself, making a fool out of someone is so easy, isn't it? And like, she's such a fool because the words that they like her uncle tells her, the that basically, they took her in because they care about her and they pity her and they want to take care of her, but then they give like basically, say all these mean things, and even she says to herself, she's like, I know the hand reaching out to me isn't a lifeline, it's a thorny vine meant to hurt me, because basically anything negative that like anything that goes wrong, like our the Golden Rose, there was a scandal revolving her, but they just said, "How about you become the main character of the scandal?" And the reason why you should do it was because we've been supporting you and taking care of you since your parents died, so you should just step up and take her place in the scandal. And that's essentially how this all begins. This whole like scandal maker identity, and it's like every time something goes on with the main character's cousin, you know they flip it that it was actually her the entire time, her being, involved in all these scandals, when in reality it was never her, it was always her cousin. However, she has no choice but to rely on that hand that feeds him, because like even she says herself, she's like, without even that thorny vine, she has nothing left. So she has no choice but to, become the main character in all of these scandals, do whatever, her uncle and her cousin want, because she really doesn't have anything other than them. So, and basically at the end of the second chapter, we have, our female lead's cousin, she's talking with this guy who like helped her basically set up this whole ploy of the Duke's gem. He admits it, saying like, he got the jewel, put it on her, and she's here to reward him for doing that. And he asked her the question of, why does our female lead's cousin hate her so much, and she simply just says, just because she gets on her nerves. So basically, the whole idea of her being a scandal maker, from what I've been able to tell just off the few chapters that are out, in reality, it's our female lead is just a victim of a lot of schemes from her cousin here. And basically just our main character, she was sheltered, her parents were like died in some accident, a boating accident. Her uncle took her in, and basically there she was raised, and she was, I don't want to say protected, but essentially, anything, she basically just was did what she was told. She was taken care of. She never struggled, other than like when it was in service of her family. And so, she may come off as naive, weak, but in reality, I feel like she's just a victim of circumstance. Like, there's a lot of the reason I want to say that is because there's a lot of controversy about, people liking our main character and not liking her simply because of how she is. Like, she seems like this downtrodden, weak, naive female lead who doesn't believe that others are out to get her until they admit it. But at the same time, it's like, her the circumstances of being a sheltered, parentless child who was taken in by a kind uncle. When she was young, she believed that he was kind. Take him in without asking for anything in return. But also that part of her that's like without that hand that that despite it being poisonous and thorny, she doesn't have anything else but that hand, so she has no choice but to just fall victim to these circumstances, because without the circumstances, she has nothing left. At least she doesn't think she does. And it's just overall, it's just kind of like a sad type of theme, with our female lead. I hope to see, our main character get stronger over time. Where she becomes less dependent on others and she becomes more dependent, or her mindset goes from you know I hope basically what I hope she becomes is like an independent person who doesn't need to rely on others and loves herself and becomes stronger for herself and not for others. So I also hope that the relationship between like our female lead and her cousin, like I hope our female lead triumphs in that, because there's obviously discourse here. There's obviously going to be more and more schemes in the future, and I hope overall that our female lead will come out of it, maybe not unscathed, but a bigger and better person from the trials and tribulations of everything that has happened in her life. But overall, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about today. Was this comic? Um, I don't know how it's gonna go. I have some, I am skeptical, with our main character being, the dependent, sheltered. She's not really knowledgeable about much. She doesn't really have an education. Like, she is just like this child that was taken in and just sheltered from everything good and bad from the world. So I hope to see, some good character development with her, some good, you know, I hope she finds her happiness. I really do. But yeah, that'll be it for this video. If you guys liked it, leave a like, subscribe. I hope you guys keep coming back. I'd like to continue growing my channel, continue making these videos, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.